Welcome back to Sky Magazine's coverage from the Windmill tournament here in Amsterdam. The sun is shining and you're joined in the commentary box by Tom Stiles, that's myself, and Ravi Vasudevan.
Yeah, so it seems that GB is playing against Austria here. This is a women's quarterfinal matchup, so you might have heard a bit about the Swiss draw format. That doesn't matter anymore. Now you win or you go down. So GB started on offense and gave a turnover to Austria. Austria now putting it up.
Big disc hanging, brought down by the Austrians. The number 73 shirt catching that confidently and swinging out to a compatriot. Back into the center of the field. Austria raking sidearm. Beautifully brought down, just short of the end zone, looking for a quick jab into it. Jackie Varel's marking, hands low. The Austrian number 15 shirt dumps back to 97. And across the 9, back to 97, and looking to jam it in. Here, takes the time, just across the fingertips of the Austrians. They've given it back to Great Britain. Nervy start from both these teams. It was a poor disc that caused that first turnover from Great Britain. We are just awaiting a network connection so that we can get our rosters updated. And we'll be trying our best to get both of those things sorted out. Ravi might just talk you through the next one while I get the roster sorted out.
Sure, sounds good. Yeah, so this is the 4-5 matchup. For those of you know how quarterfinal brackets work, it's usually 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, and 4 versus 5. Austria has the 4th place rank right now against GB in the 5th place rank. Big high disc here, and GB able to come down with it. Seem to be getting reorganized. Number 8 on the side of the field, looking to get it off that line. Nice dump to 85, looks swing. Nice pretty swing on the second effort. GB seeming to be quite under pressure from this Austrian defense, finding a nice easy break option. GB working it patiently, that disc. Couldn't tell if she was on that line or not, but there seems to be another call on the field. Pick was called, it seems. So number 24 to pick up the disc, try and have a nice end zone offense set here. Fakes the high release, looking off. Dumps to Ange Wilkinson. And GB managed to score it in the end. Pretty tough look for GB. They didn't have the easiest time getting down there. First was a nice throw that was contested. Austria got the turn. Then the way they went from their defending end zone to the midfield was this big hospital pass, managed to come down with it. They're going to have to play a much smoother game if they want to play safely, take a nice win against these Austrians. So again, the Swiss ranking is now done. We are into bracket play. This is the 4-5 semi. The winner of this will play against the winner of Germany versus the Eye Catchers. The Eye Catchers are a club team from Austria and very, very young-looking team. I've seen them, but seem to have done well enough to earn them the 8th seed into this bracket play, playing against the really strong Germany, who have just been dominating competition here. Last year was a great final between Germany and Russia. This year, Russia has opted not to come to this event. So Germany seems like they are pretty uncontested here. So GB getting ready to pull after having a pretty tough time getting their offensive hold. We'll now get to see Austria's O-line versus GB's D-line. So the pull is up. Austria picking it up, going over to 26. GB lagging a bit behind, maybe a bit afraid of Austria's deep game. Puts up a bit of a blade and a misread by 45 on Austria there. Bit of a tough throw to read. It looks like the breeze is picking up a little bit, making those bladey throws pretty difficult. So GB with their chance to break here, but they're going to have to go the full width of the field in order to do that.
And we've just about got our rosters sorted out now. Thanks, Ravi, for the cover there. Great Britain in the middle of the pitch, moving the disc fairly fluidly. Jenna Thompson making a cut down the middle of the pitch, but it goes across to Jen Hart on the far side. Nods of the head, wants that cut, and gets it. A pick's been called by the Austrians. We'll just get our rosters finally sorted out. Straight into this game, straight off the back of that exciting mixed fifth round tie between Brown Chicken, Brown Cow and Grutz from the Dutch youth side. Jenna Thompson making a characteristic cut. Touch off the top of her hand. Second time round, she makes absolutely no doubt about that. Grabs it. Flowing red hair, distinctive 72 shirt. And puts it in straight away. A lot of these players not wearing the shirt that they've got on their roster, which is always interesting. So we don't have no 72 on our roster, but there's a 72 on the pitch, so we'll work that out.
So yeah, that was brilliant work by GB there, working off the break side. It's really tough sometimes when you're marking and your player goes to that side, not the side where you want to trap, but on the other sideline, and you try to put a straight up mark to maybe say, okay, well, there's not going to be too many options right up that sideline, but GB there with a nice break pass into space, really punishing that decision on the Austrian mark to kind of give them that around option. Great work by GB's D-line. So now GB are up 2-0. We'll see if Austria can answer back with this 0 point.
The disc with Austria now, chasing down hard. Great Britain in the red, and Austria in the white. Austrians and a foul.
It was not a foul, but I think a stall out. I saw the hand signal tapping her head. So it was an uncontested stall out. That's probably why that disc came out that way. And now GB with a chance to break again.
Lauren Bryant for Great Britain in the 6 shirts. Francesca Scarampi making herself available. It's a nice disc. 84 is Karina Cooper. So Caroline Nichols on the far side. Bryant making a great handler cut forward into the end zone. Nice work from Great Britain. And again, Great Britain not wearing the shirts they ought to beat. That's number 11, but that's definitely not Jenna Thompson. So we'll try and get the GB roster squared up a little bit before the end of this game, so we can get a bit more information for you about who's who.
Yeah, it looks like they don't quite have their kit sorted, although Worlds is in 2 weeks. You can see different types of GB jerseys out there, whereas Austria seems to be completely uniform, so it looks like Austria have already got their stuff sorted. Some teams opt to save their real Worlds kit for the actual Worlds tournament. Looks like GB might have been making that decision here.
Yeah, it's a mixture, and a timeout has been called. 3-0 the score. Great Britain 3 points on the spin. From the power pool, from the sort of Swiss draw format and the power ranking system that we've been using to get the teams this far, Austria have been in the 4th spot, Great Britain in the 5th spot. So this is the closest of the quarterfinals, which is why we've picked it. And both teams looking to have good World Championships coming up in London in the not too distant future.
So yeah, looking at how the teams got here, GB have played their first game against the Dutch women's national team, where they won 13-10. I have a lot of friends on the Dutch women's team, and they were extremely happy with that result. And then after GB beat the Netherlands, they played France, and a bit of a maybe an upset. Maybe the French don't think so, but the French won that game 15-11. Then GB went and played the Eye Catchers, the club team from Austria, won that 15-9. Then they played Belgium, who beat GB on Universe 14-13, and finally had a match against their own Masters and beat them 15-11. So they've had wins, loss, win. and that got them into the 5 seed for this tournament. Austria and GB did not meet in Swiss draw. Usually that this type of matchup would have met once, but some games must have floated around and reshuffled things a bit. So now we have these two teams meeting for the first time in quarterfinals.
See if I can attract the attention of one of the Great Britain girls. Get them to come and correct some of their roster numbers for me. I should know the names. I should know the names, but I don't. It's a fast-moving sea in this international.
See if anybody's injured. I don't want to interrupt them in a game.
Steve, roster numbers don't match shirt numbers. Can you send someone up? Roster numbers don't match shirt numbers. Can you send someone up to talk to them?
Is anybody injured or something?
We'll wick it out. We'll try and get our way through it. The Austrians, another disc that doesn't quite connect. They're really feeling the pressure that Great Britain are putting them under here at the start of this game. A 3-0 lead already, the team in red. Jenna Thompson now. Rachel Kelly making herself available, but it's Alice Beeching cutting deep. There's going to be pressure underneath this disc. It's going to be close to the back of the end zone, but beautifully read by her Austrian counterpart, who closed down the space, cut that out. Birgit Ruthner, who was in the 33 shirt, read that beautifully.
Yeah, some great closing speed. It looked like that the GB player was open when the throw went up, but the Austrian defender made up that space, got into great position, and made sure that was going to be a nice clean D. So Austria here again with their chance. Austria struggling to score, put up any points on the board here, but are putting up a lot of pressure on GB as well. So we'll see if this game cleans up a little bit, and we'll see how if Austria can put themselves on the board on this offensive point. Hotly contested disc here. Disc goes up, nice big one. And it's D'd up.
Calls coming back. Jenna Thompson and the number 1 shirt, her number 12 shirt for Austria. Sorry, number 52 shirt. She's wearing 12 on her shorts, 52 on her shirt. So we're going to go for Katharina Riga. Rachel Kelly. With the disc for Great Britain. Jenna Thompson cutting down the line, but she's going to have to go back and around the 54 shirt of Fiona Kwan. Kwan to body. Body back to Kwan again. This time, oh, how fast hands from not Rosalind Cameron. Jenna Thompson floats over the top. Alice Beeching, beautifully read and great foot speed. Two ponytails connecting there in the far side of the pitch to make it up to 4-0. Apologies for having a few issues with the Great Britain roster. A lot of the players are wearing somebody else's shirt. There's 2 Rosalind Camerons out there, and there's 2 Jenna Thompsons. I know which one is the real one. I don't know who the other one is. And we'll try and sort that out as the game goes on.
So GB here to a very dominant lead, up 4-0. It really looks like Austria's having trouble just connecting on offense. I'm sure they had a great road to get here, to get that 4th place seed, but right now on this matchup, when we get to bracket play, it seems that they're just, maybe GB's turning it on and finding another gear and trying to prove that they're not a 5th place team, but getting into that top 4, qualifying for the semifinals after this.
I think Great Britain have arrived at this tournament with, you know, a lot of preparation under their belt and something of a reputation to defend, and they wouldn't have expected to find themselves in 5th spot. And maybe Austria got a bit intimidated by that, but the French certainly didn't get intimidated by that. They really took it to Great Britain, and I was on the sideline for that French victory in the second round of the Swiss draw. Big reason why the Great Britain team are so low in the draw currently. France haven't had an easy ride either, as the cumulative effect of these games takes its hold. 47 now, big disc into the end zone. It's going to be floating high, pressure from the Great Britain defender, but Annika Wolfsteiner reaches up and grabs that disc out of the sky and brings it down for Austria. And they're on the scoreboard. 4-1 is the score. You're listening to Sky Magazine's coverage from the Windmill tournament in Amsterdam, the heart of Europe. The elite, ultimate, twinned with a party atmosphere here in Amsterdam. Teams from around Europe, teams from across the world, and a lot of national sides here in all the divisions using this as a training tournament for the World Championships, which are coming up in London in not very long at all. 2 weeks away before the opening ceremony of that, which I'll be involved in on the commentary side. I think I'm also master of ceremonies for the opening ceremony at the World Championships. Great privilege to be involved in the tournament organising. They run a very tight crew, and a volunteer has just made us all smile up here in the Sky commentary box by bringing us water. You're a start. Oh, it's even better. It's water with added stuff. It's got the word hydration written down the side of a bottle, and that's good for me. So thank you very much. Our volunteers have been fantastic. They're extremely well looked after, the volunteers here at Windmill. If you've ever thinking about volunteering for a tournament and you think, oh, what's in it for me? Here you get your own little area at the back of the tournament HQ, which they call Paradise. Free food, free drinks, and you get an opportunity to go in there and relax and hang out with the other volunteers. You get very, very well looked after, and you don't get overly lent on for doing jobs. Cheska Tyler now. Disc down to Rosalind Cameron. Cameron advancing the disc further. I think that's Catherine Gainey, the wrong shirt number on the back. Gets it across to Jen Hart. Hart looking down the line to Thompson. Thompson's going to have to run to the back of the end zone, but she has got the feet, reads the disc, chases it down.
So talking a bit more about the volunteers, for people who really love this Windmill atmosphere, it really can't happen without the volunteers, and the Windmill organizers know that. I was actually talking yesterday to Fred Spaniard, who was one of the guys that started Windmill back a long time ago, but he's been out of the organization for the last couple of years, and he's been seeing one big move that's happened kind of a little after his time is well, we always treated the volunteers pretty nicely here, but things have gotten really, really amazing with this Paradise setup. There's couches there. Only the volunteers and the crew are allowed back there. Like you said, free food, free drinks. But we do that. We invest quite a bit of the budget into that because we know that if you have volunteers that are happy, that makes the tournament run so much smoother. I have a friend who was working the bar, and the guy running the bar told him, and all the volunteers working the bar, we have one rule here, is that for volunteers, you guys don't get stressed. You guys aren't getting paid for this. You guys are helping us out. So make sure that you're just enjoying yourself. You guys don't get stressed. Make sure that the stress goes on to the crew, and volunteers having a great time here, as well as the players.
We're trying to work out some of the numbers on these shirts, and we're slowly working our way through there. Burgett now. Ruthner manages to find a little final escape there to Chukma. And a turnover. Great Britain applying a lot of pressure on the defense, getting the turns and the rewards that they need. They lead 5-1 in this game so far. I'm sure the Austrians were expecting and wanting a better game. Deep cut has gone from Jackie Varel's. Ange Wilkinson looking to hit that one. No, she isn't. 85 is Hannah Brew. Sends up a big disc. It's going to be Ange Wilkinson chasing it down, but it's beyond her, and it's into the ground.
Yeah, a little tiredness there. Ange Wilkinson, usually a pretty powerful cutter. A bit slower than I've seen her before. I think this heat is getting to these players now. This is their second game of the day, I believe, for the opening women's teams.
Disc across to the 15 shirt of Wolfsteiner. Wolfsteiner dishes the disc back to Lindner. Wolfsteiner and Lindner exchanging discs, and again, not making a lot of progress. The four-person cup, and Ange Wilkinson with a hand taking away that dump option, just flicked her fingers. You might see that sort of play. Difficult to see from this perspective whether the hand was there, but Ange is making a compelling case. Thank you very much. So we've got a few corrections on our roster for Great Britain, which I'll try and make live while Ravi talks you through what his perspective on that replay.
Yeah, so we just saw the replay there. It did look like a strip. I think she still had the disc in her hands when Ange Wilkinson put her hands on the disc. They seem to still be talking about it, though. I think they're just talking about when the stall was at the time. But that... Okay, it seems to be a contested foul. So the disc is coming back in on 3. So Austria now trying to make work out of this zone defense that GB has put them on. There's a lot of pressure going on from this GB zone. They tried to crash the cup. That didn't seem to work.
Austrians managing to thread disc past the zone. They need to break through this cup. And there's lots of space on the far side of the pitch if they can use the overhead. Just needs to have the courage to take that overhead shot on. Going to take a deep shot on against this well-marked zone. Manages to bring it down. Can they jab it into the end zone and score a point here? A bit of pressure from Great Britain. And managing to slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, I don't like that call. I think the GB player is calling foul on the thrower, but it was the GB player that shifted over and tried to get that block on the fake. And maybe the Austrian player did call a foul, but it seemed like she just wanted to play on. It's not up to the GB player to force her to call that foul.
Ruthner is the player with the disc, the 33 shirt on the back. 2 fakes. Has a couple of looks at this. Wolfsteiner cutting around available, but they've gone to a one-on-one defense, and the second time around, the 97 shirt of Lindner reaches up, brings it down for a second point. A lot of pressure from Great Britain, and that 4-person cup, 4-lady cup, producing a lot of space on the far side of the pitch. If the Austrians can start to exploit that, they'll be able to move the disc around quite freely, but not having the courage to take on the hammer, break open to the far side of the pitch as yet. Let's see if they have to adopt that tactic later on as the game extends.
Yeah, it seems like it's too difficult for the Austrians. They're scoring, even that point, it was very, very hotly contested. This floaty disc, she had to get it on her second effort for it. They need to play a bit of a cleaner game. It was a lot of toughness getting through that zone. But like you said, it seems like they don't quite have that overhead shot. And GB is playing a type of zone that puts a lot of people around the disc, but that opens up a lot of space if you have those overheads. I think Austria needs to hit that, because once they hit that, that zone will break wide open. That's the weakness there. Austria needs to figure out, hopefully they have some throwers that have those throws in their arsenal to break open that zone. So now Austria hoping to get a break here, because of right now it's 5-2 for the Brits, and the pull goes up.
Disc going to go out, and Jen Hart signals above her head that she's going to bring that to the brick mark. I think we've corrected all of the numbers on our shirts, apart from that one. Jen Hart to Jenna Thompson. Thompson, and not a good disc from Thompson. Is out of the reach of Jen Hart. Not sure if there was a miscommunication there. Gave her the eyes, maybe. Austrians have it. Doblinger throws it beyond the outstretched 26 shirt of Lisa Maria Hanghofer. And Austria really not managing to get very much of a flow or connection going against this Great Britain team so far. Jen Hart with the disc once again. Cheska Tyler cutting around at the back, but the disc is going to be floated across to Jenna Thompson. Great out in the middle of the pitch, isolating herself and getting that disc from Jen Hart. Looking to find another connection. Cheska Tyler free and floats into the end zone. Catherine Gainey's underneath this one. dabs her feet either side of the line. She's not in yet. Becky Haig cutting around at the back there. Finds the 20 shirt of Tyler again and safely into the hands of Fiona Kwan. And that's 6-2. Fairly one-sided match so far. Great Britain in the ascendancy. Austria looking to find a bit of flow and connection, which is missing from their game so far.
Yeah, what a pity. I mean, Great Britain had a little unforced, seems like a miscommunication error for giving a turnover on the attacking brick mark for Austria, and they weren't able to convert that. That would have been a point to really put this game a bit closer, and if you can't convert those points, they're not going to get too many gifts like that against a team like GB. So Austria here has to really maybe gain a little bit more confidence, gain a little bit more flow, and find a way to deal with this GB defensive pressure. I think the pressure from the GB side looks to be a bit too much for the Austrians so far. And GB, on the other hand, seems to be scoring with quite relative ease. Looking pretty one-sided, but the game is still early. It's only 2-6. So we'll see what happens here as GB gets ready to pull.
The Austrians letting that disc roll out, and that's going to provide them, Great Britain, with an opportunity to come down here with their four players marking out. This is an interesting look for the Austrians. They've got 4 handlers, 3 upfield, not really horizontal, and poaching off into that space is Rachel Turton. She's going to leave somebody free. Great Britain, that's nice. They've broken down that work straight away. Austrians in a bit of a state here. They need to get themselves sorted out and work out how to move this disc across, but they're deep in their own end zone at the moment. Lots of pressure from Great Britain. Back in the hands of Chukma. Chukma now managing to get a fast disc upfield to the available Wolfsteiner. Wolfsteiner back to Chukma. Doesn't have very much forward, but does manage to get it nicely to Mastny. Back to Lindner. Down the line, low disc, too low, hits the floor. It's a turnover to Great Britain again. Austria looked like got themselves into a bit of a situation at the start there. Great work from Rachel Turton, seeing that the setup was a 4-3, 4 handlers and 3 upfield. He just poached off right into the middle of that gap, and her player had to then dish out to the back and caused confusion at the back. It's Caroline Nichols now with the disc. For Great Britain to Hannah Brew, to Francesca Scarampi, who sends up a big disc. Turton chasing it down. Is she going to have the wheels to get there? Not quite. Feet buzzing across the floor, but the disc from Scarampi was a little bit too advanced ahead of her.
Yeah, this was just a bit too far out there. But again, GB putting immense pressure on the Austrians. Austrians do not seem to have an easy answer for this GB defense. So, yeah, GB did give it away, but sometimes your D-line, you want to take those shots, and then if you don't get it, that's fine. You have the great defensive players out there to put some more pressure on. So let's see. Now Austria seems to have cleaned up their offense a bit. They're back to a regular horizontal stack with 3 handlers down and four cutters deep. They have 2 deep cutters going off the beginning, and they go for the dump.
Yeah, having to reset again there. They're not able to use the downfield options they're creating, and that's going to hurt them if they can't manage to get that horizontal stack working better for them later on in this game. Chukma again connecting with Lindner. Lindner on the far side of the pitch with the red cap. Oh, and back to Chukma. Wasn't expecting it at all. Manages to correct herself. Pressure from Caroline Nichols. Didn't actually need to touch it. It was a poor disc. Annika Wolfsteiner not able to connect. Turnover Great Britain. And the Austrians really not finding their groove in this game so far. Scarampi goes to the ground, this rubber crumb surface. Hopefully not providing too poor surface. A lot of the players quite enjoy this. Takes a good stud. Not a good choice of disc over the top from Hannah Brew. That's a turnover. Caught the shoulder on the way through. Never had any chance of connecting. Disc from the Austrians. A mistake. Not caught cleanly. Schwending is the receiver that didn't manage to connect with that. Oh, just enough defense on it from the outstretched fingers of the 9 shirt Eva Chukma, who's been a key player anchoring the handling line here. I wonder if we're going to see this horizontal set from the Austrians. I think we are, again. And Great Britain, so last time it was the two players closest to us that cut deep, but Great Britain are just poaching off the two players on the far side, taking away the options as they arrive. And Scarampi, reading that disc beautifully, floats it to Turton. Turton this time has the wheels, gets there, two hands, low to the ground, and celebrates with her team. Great work from Rachel Turton, chasing that disc down. Nice disc from Scarampi.
Yeah, and a fantastic deep from Scarampi as well. We'll see a replay of that, I hope. There it is. And just amazing grab, amazing closing speed, amazing layout grab. GB are fired up as they take the lead 7-2. Yeah, Austria really doesn't have much of an answer here. A bit of a story on how Austria has done so far this tournament to get into that 4 seed. They started off playing against Remix, which is a club team from the Ukraine. They beat Remix 15-12. Then they played against the Danish women's team, beating them 15-7. Eventually putting them up against Germany women's, who are by and large just crushing everybody they seem to be getting in front of here at this tournament. So they lost also to Germany 8-15. And then they played the German Masters women's team, who they beat 15-5. Finally, they played against the Swiss national team, who beat them also 15-12. So they've had 3 wins and 2 losses so far, and that puts them up against GB in this quarterfinal match. But yeah, so far, seems that GB is definitely has the upper hand. We'll see if Austria can find a way to keep their composure and deal with this defensive pressure. It seems pretty tough to get open options for Austria.
Jenna Thompson marking Romany Hanna, getting a touch on that. One of the fastest players in the UK women's scene, but no contest on the foul call. Ruthner calling the foul and regaining possession for Austria. A dish over the top, nice dish, just caught on the fingertips of the 52 shirt of Katharina Riga. Swing around the back. Raponting. And a disc right into the end zone. It's going to be chased down by Hannah Bodies. Manages to guard it safely outside of the back of the end zone. Not a good disc. The last shot into the end zone from the Austrians so far.
That was the best offense, though, going up to that point, I think, so far for the Austrians. So there they seem to get a little more confidence. They were able to generate some flow. Wasn't the best shot for the last throw, but at least they managed to play some offense on this GB pressured defense.
Jenna Thompson brings the disc, and Rosalind Cameron set off straight away. Now she's going to come back underneath, but there's a bit of a mix-up, and all the cutters stop their cuts while Rachel Kelly comes to take that disc. And they need to sort themselves out further down pitch. It's the ever-reliable figure of Jenna Thompson, who gets clattered in the back by Hanghofer for her trouble. Yeah, Great Britain's cutting was a little bit chaotic there. They had Cameron going deep and then coming back under. Romany Hanna was running around as well. But Rachel Kelly eventually finding Jenna Thompson. Cameron. Back to Kelly. To Body. Body dumps out to Thompson, who sends it deep straight away. Becky Haig chasing down underneath that. Great work from Haig. Great work from Thompson. Extending their lead and taking the half, 8-2. This is a demolition job from the ladies in red so far. And the Austrians need to find their groove and pick themselves up, or they're going to be out on the floor before too long.
So we do have now the quarterfinals for the mix setup. For those of you who watched the previous live stream of Hrut versus Brown Chicken Brown Cow, we were saying that we thought that Hrut's win was maybe not going to be enough for them to get them into that top 8, but we were proven wrong. They are in the top 8, so they will be playing against GB mixed. I think that's the 1-8 quarterfinal. Then the winner of GB versus Hrut will play against Poland versus France, the winner of that game. On the other side of the bracket, we have the Sock Puppet Regime. This is a team mainly from Seattle, made up of a lot of sockeye players, as well as some Russian all-star women. I told before that the Russian women's team isn't coming down here, so Sock Puppet Regime have picked them up in the mixed division. They'll play against Germany mixed, who actually beat Sock Puppet Regime in Swiss draw by 1. Apparently, it was an amazing universe point. I have some friends on the German mixed team as well as Sock Puppet, and they told me it was a great performance by the Germans. So I'm sure Sock Puppet's going to be eager to try and get the revenge match there, but Germany may be feeling a bit confident, saying, we know we can beat this team, so play them in that quarter. And the final quarter will be a Czechoslovakia game with the Slovak mixed team versus the Czech mixed team. So that's an interesting matchup for the other quarterfinal. So mixed, getting ready. The quarterfinal brackets will happen soon. I don't know if we will be streaming a quarterfinal bracket then, but following that round, we will be streaming a open semifinal, and then we will stream a mixed semifinal after the open semifinal. So keep tuned here. This is our second game of today. We will have at least 2 more games, and halftime seems to be wrapping up. Austria getting themselves set to hopefully play a better second half than they played in the first half. GB hoping to continue the dominance that they've shown so far.
I think that early defeat to France probably rattled a few cages in the Great Britain women's team, because they've looked like a completely different squad out here. Austria haven't been playing well, that's definitely to be said, but Great Britain looking very confident and a lot more determined than they were when they faced France. France didn't win that game easily. They played extremely well themselves, but an early defeat in the Swiss draw format doesn't spell the end of your tournament, but it does make everything a little bit more difficult.
It sure does, yeah. Talking about this first half a bit, I'm not sure the Austrians aren't playing well. It's just GB's D is just stifling. They just seem to be shutting down any easy option for Austria, and they don't really have an answer for that. I think they must have lit a fire under some of their players, because this is some fantastic shutdown defense I'm seeing from the Great Britain women.
Well, so far we've seen the Austrians set up in that horizontal stack a couple of times, and what we've seen is if the disc's on one side of the pitch, the 2 players on the near the disc will get marked deep, so they have to go under, and then the players on the other side of the pitch will mark 1 under and 1 deep, but not really marking the player, marking the space. And that's been very effective in closing down all the options from the Austrians.
Yeah, I have seen Austria a couple times that they have the disc, let's say, on the close side of the field, closest side to us, and then the cutter on the horizontal stack from that side of the field cuts deep. Now that's a really hard throw to for anybody who's been playing a lot of Ultimate before. You know that if they call it the rule of thirds, you don't want to throw a deep shot to somebody that's cutting away from you in the same third of the field. If you divide the field into vertical thirds, you want somebody cutting deep from another third. That way you can put the disc in front of them. Otherwise, you have to put the disc over their head. It makes it extremely difficult for them to read and extremely difficult for you to have any margin of error there. And Austria seems to be sending those people deep, whereas if they have the disc on this side, they should be having deep cuts from the other side of the field. I think that's something they really need to adapt, and GB is seeing that weakness and stifling all those options.
So Jen Hart with a characteristic pull. Didn't quite make it to the Austrians' end zone, but we see the Great Britain zone set up again. Rachel Kelly bouncing around and making a nuisance of herself with the 3 players behind her. And Austrians have to go over the top. There's going to be some pressure under this from 2 Great Britain players, and there might be a complaint about that collision. So the player that isn't Rosalind Cameron.
Yeah, for me it looked like the Austrian player was trying to run into the space that the GB player was already occupying. But she is saying that she got hit in the head, so maybe an arm or an elbow hit her in the head. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. They're discussing it now. It seems to be an uncontested foul, so GB giving them the disc here.
Oh, no, I think it actually is Rosalind Cameron. I'm confused now. Maybe wrong. Anyway, the Austrians have still got the disc, managing to maintain possession. Catherine Gainey covering low. Lindner into the end zone for a score. The number 47 shirt of Hemmer Gritz popping up right at the right point.
And that's the best I've seen the Austrians play, except for that really contested shot that ended up getting on the foul. right after that, they played really, really nice end zone offense and able to hit all their open options and their cutters doing work. I'm curious, maybe GB is resting their top defenders after having this lead, because now the point difference doesn't make any difference. It's just a matter of winning the games. So maybe they're throwing a little bit of their depth into the line to rest their starters for the semifinals, or maybe Austria just is finding a way to find the holes in that GB defense.
I think the way the Great Britain team plays very similar to the way the Iceni team play. They set themselves up as two separate teams, two separate lines, and it's not necessarily O and D, but they're two lines that always play with each other. And then from those two lines, they then group into groups of 4. So they'll always have sort of handlers, mids, and deeps. And the team coach, who's Steve Balls, who's down on the sideline with the clipboard, number 2 shirt on his back. Steve is calling the lines from those two squads. And it just allows them to build up a bit of a tighter connection. When you're playing with a big squad of 25 players, it's sometimes very difficult to get chemistry between your group of players. But because these two separate squads are going to be playing with each other much more regularly, they can get that chemistry going. And you see that now. That's fast running down the line. Scarampi setting the disc, it's floating, it's not going to be quite enough, it's out the sideline. Not a great disc down the line to Jackie Varels, who'd made a good cut.
Yeah, I hope if Austria managed to capitalize here on this conversion, that'll be a statement, because then I think that'll be the first break of the game, and that's the type of thing this game's all a game of momentum, so if they can get on a little run here, if they get 8-4, 8-4 is a much better position than 8-2 where they were a little while ago, so we'll see if Austria is able to capitalize on this GB mistake.
Disc right across to Ruthner. Back to Doblinger. Big disc into the end zone. It's going to be caught nicely. Outstretched. Great grab from the 52 shirt of Katharina Riga. She always had the legs and there was no pressure from the Great Britain defense, but she had to go full stretch to bring that disc down, and we see the replay there. Big disc going up.
Yeah, I'm not sure which was the intended receiver there. There was another receiver seemed like going for it, but great closing speed and able to get that nice layout grab for Austria. So like I said, Austria just got a break of their own now. First break of the game for Austria. Gets them to 8-4, but now GB's O-line, or maybe they play different lines, but maybe might get a little rattled. So we'll see if Austria they need to keep that pressure on while GB is maybe now rethinking their throws, just thinking a bit more tentatively, given that they made a couple mistakes that cost them a break just now. So we'll see if Austria can keep the pressure going, or if GB can stop the bleeding. But if Austria get one more break here, 8-6, 8-5, then that's really getting back into the game.
Struggling a little bit with our internet connection out here on the other side of the pitches. We're a long way from the tournament central. So thanks to the GB Guts crew who are watching. Making a Great Britain women making a great start against Austria. Well, they certainly are. And Dave Pitchler, who is watching in the UK as well. Cheska Tyler now receiving the disc from Jenna Thompson. Tyler to Hart. Hart's got Haig cutting around in front of her. Cameron's available as well. Romany Hannah over the top of Catherine Gainey. It's third time lucky. I don't think there can be any call on that from Cheska Tyler. She says she's made contact. Two of them are going to disagree about this. Cheska Tyler, no, she has called it. She's called a foul. I'm not sure quite the context of that, but maybe she got clattered on the way through and would have had a second bid at it. But Tyler's got the disc to Haig. Thompson floats into space. Romney Hannah turns, looks. Catherine Gainey's there on the backup. Great work from the Great Britain ladies. Two options in the end zone. Romney Hannah and Catherine Gainey backing each other up. They extend their lead.
A great mental game there to not get frustrated by the fact you gave up a break, still play your confident offense, play what you know how to do. Great play from GB. not every game is being live scored right now, but I can give a couple updates. Looks like Bad Skid versus Italy Open in the Open quarterfinal is right now 6-6, probably an amazing battle of physical teams there. The Big Easy versus Denmark Open, which is happening on the field right across on field 2. You can actually see it in the background. Looks like the Big Easy is up on Denmark 5-4. Big Easy is a Austrian club team. Let me check if there's anything in the women's division that is, I think this is the only game in the women's division that's being live scored. So if we get any more of those updates, we'll try and update you back at home here at Sky Magazine coverage of Windmill 2016.
Yeah, the sun is shining on the Amsterdam pitches. The flags are fluttering. It's a light wind, and you're listening to Tom Stiles and Ravi Vasudathan covering the women's division quarter-final in the 4 versus 5 bracket, Austria and Great Britain. Austrians advancing down the side. Musgrave coming to cover that one. The disc comes back to Doblinger. Nice sidearm, centre of the pitch, absolutely dead centre of the pitch. And back to Ruthner. Another call on the play. Not sure what that call was. Austria look to Doblinger. Doblinger floating. It's going to be caught by outstretched hand. Well, was that just enough interference from Andrew Wilkinson, who came out of the cut? No complaints from the Austrians. Andrew Wilkinson with the turn. So you tried to avoid contact with the fast-running Hanghofer. Just did enough to get the disc.
Yeah, I think Hanghofer just dropped it when it hit the ground. It looked like to me that she caught the disc, but probably when she hit the ground, she lost possession of it. Great effort by her. Would have been a nice score for Austria, but now let's see what they can do to try and get the disc back on D.
Bryant to Varels. Outstretched and low, grabbing from fast running. Jackie Varels jumps high. Lauren Bryant is available for her. Looking down the line, no good defense from the Austrians, taking away all the options there. Varels has got cutting for his Karina Cooper, but over the far side of the pitch is Andrew Wilkinson lurking in some space. And Varels managing to find that disc right across the top of the end zone. Wilkinson takes it, and they extend their lead again. 6 points they're up here in this quarter-final match. Strong performance from Great Britain. After a rough ride they've had getting into this quarter-final position, they're now taking apart the Austrian team.
Yeah, it seems Austrians did put a lot of pressure there, and they did have an almost score. So that was one of the best defenses I've seen from the Austrians so far, putting a lot of pressure on getting some contested discs. Number 33 on Austria, especially impressing me with her physical defense. But that nice blade over the top score into Andrew Wilkinson, that's such a hard throw to defend. So if you have that in your arsenal, yeah, it's a tough. We saw Krutz in the last match that we live streamed having a lot of those big bladey throws, and they're just impossible to defend if you can get them on.
Now both teams taking a timeout. We've had a few technical issues this morning with our coverage. I hope wherever you are, you've been able to join in with what you've been able to see. We've been recording all the games and we'll upload them onto Sky Magazine's YouTube channel as it is. We might just have a quick break in coverage while we get the internet connection improved, so we get some better quality streaming for you. Jen Hart rips the disc across the sky. I think it is Jen Hart. Confused. Anyway, 73 is for the Austrian teams managing to make some advantage, and a pick has been called in the middle of the play. There's 3 Great Britain players wearing a 5 shirt. I only recognise 2 of them. Anyway, Austria with the disc. Backhand and Alice Beeching run through. Great grab. Good block ahead of Hema Gritsch. Turnover for Great Britain. Once again, the pressure that they've managed to generate on D has been very impressive. So Jen Hart moving it around the back. Becky Haig back to Jen Hart again. Haig making a nice cut through the middle, managing to make a lot of yards of space. Put it in front of Bodie, who's going to run it down, but it didn't quite stay in the air long enough. Hannah Bodie chasing it down, and the having made a great cut forward and got that disc, the disc from Becky Haig into the end zone, didn't hang in the air long enough. So turnover back to the Austrians.
I think there's some fatigue setting in. It has been extremely hot today. I think that first really nice hot weekend in Amsterdam so far this year. So of course we always arrange also the good weather here at Windmill. Austria now with a chance to try and hold on to this point.
Austria again under pressure in their own end zone, but now that's a nice disc, good cut as well. Movement forward to Grutz. Spins Wolfsteiner. Wolfsteiner looking for options forward, but pressure from the Great Britain ladies still there, ever present. Lindner. Oh, Lindner's a great disc across the far side of the pitch to Gritsch. Outstretched hand, keeping the disc alive. Wolfsteiner. Chukma. And Wolfsteiner Lindner not sure that disc was for her, just let it go past her, didn't bid on it, didn't stretch herself. And that pressure from Great Britain paying with tired legs on the Austrian side. Turnover. So Great Britain playing a split stack. Jen Hart with a disc to Rachel Kelly. Rachel Kelly didn't attack that disc enough. And Ulla Masny gets the block for Austria. Wolfsteiner. Back to Chukma. It was a close call there, but she's managed to put it in nicely. And now we're starting to see a little bit more Austrian confidence, a little bit more Austrian aggression. And they got a great turn and score there against Great Britain.
Yeah, Ulla Masny getting that nice D there. Really, really heads up. Seeing that she just had that opportunity to run through and get that D, make a nice opportunity for Austria to get that score. Score's now 5-10 for the Brits. Still quite a lot to make up for the Austrians. It'll take a lot of mental grit for them to get back into this game. But it looks like they're waking up a bit, getting a bit more confident. Their coaches out there firing up their D-line, and whereas GB getting ready to call their next line, going to try and play a nice solid offense, keep their lead.
Hannah. Do you know who the long hair number 5 on the far side of the pitch is? Yeah, that's Rachel Tierney.
So we're trying to sort out a few of the names on the GB squad. They don't seem to have their full Worlds kit arranged yet, and it's causing us a bit of problems. So we apologize to anybody watching this, anybody on the GB women's team watching this game later on the YouTube feed if we got some of your names wrong. but I'm sure you'll forgive us. So.
Yeah, I've got the two Rachels mixed up. That is Rachel Turton in the number 5 shirt, and Rachel Dean is the other Rachel. She is wearing the 15 shirt, and I obviously only seen the 5, and the disc goes up. Scarampy seeing that beautifully. Great run from her. And looking back, looking into the end zone. Just going out the side. Lasma Putrina not able to connect on that one. There's a sub being called. Oh, we're looking for some translation. There's a contested stall out by the look of things on the far side of the pitch there.
Did not seem to me like 10 seconds. Scrampy threw it actually pretty quickly. I'm not sure what's going on exactly. That was the hand signal for a stall out, but it seems the disc is going back. It would have been a turnover if it was a stall out, so I'm not sure what actually happened there.
Right. Looking again for some translation help. Sometimes the language barrier is the only thing that stands in the way of these players making the self-officiating barrier of language. Can be a bit of an issue. It's one of the things the game advisors at Worlds will really help with. They generally try to put game advisors around that speak the necessary languages. We have a game advisor that speaks Japanese, and she'll be advising on as many Japanese games as she can. Very useful to break down that language barrier and just make sure everyone understands what's going on. I'm really unsure about what the conversation was. Maybe that throw from Scarampy got a bit of Austrian hand involved in it, as it wasn't floated. It's a very difficult disc for Lasma to grab onto.
There seem to be 3 GB players and 2 Austrian players getting on this discussion. I'm not sure if there's a language barrier or what's going on. Yeah, maybe we can talk a bit more about Windmill and the other stuff going on. We're into the bracket play in both the mixed and open divisions. The women's and open divisions, and mixed divisions quarterfinals will be starting after this. So, Tom, you've mentioned that you think that the Swiss draw is an amazing thing, that the atmosphere with the volunteers is amazing. What else can you say about your first Windmill experience so far?
Well, the venue is the other thing which I think has caught my attention. It's, if you could draw out what your perfect Frisbee venue would look like, it's pretty close. This middle pitch, the 2 pitches here are very close together, which is probably the only drawback. But yeah, it's quite compact. Everything's well catered for. You got all the bits you need to run a really great tournament, and there's plenty of pitches. They seem to go on as far as the eye can see in several directions.
So it looks like that was a stall out. That's why the disc was coming back for the Austrians over there.
So Austria with the disc advancing. That disc is going to float high in the air. There's going to be pressure underneath it, but Austria maintain body position. The 26 shirt of Hanghofer gets the reset now to the far side of the field. Doblinger. Riga. Doblinger again. And Doblinger's disc not connecting with the attended receiver, which I think was Ruthner. Or Ruthner.
So yeah, about the venue, this is a venue mainly, there are some soccer clubs that are involved in this venue, but mainly it's a lot of rugby clubs. So there's a bunch of rugby clubs in Amsterdam. They seem to have put this venue together. Windmill moved here after its first couple of years and has definitely never looked back. It's an amazing place to hold an amazing tournament. So GB here, trying to score this point and extend their lead.
Rachel Dean with the disc now. Across to Hannah Brew. Brew to Scarampy. Scarampy back to Dean. Dean to Caroline Nichols into the end zone. Beautifully floated ahead of Karina Cooper. Doesn't connect.
Yeah, it seemed to just be a little bit too casual with that catch. Didn't really, I think just lost a bit of focus and managed to get out of her hands.
Mike Grant once described that as squeezing too hard.
I'll take that for what that means, I guess.
I think this game at the moment is quite a one-sided affair. Great Britain with a 10-5 lead. Maybe making it look a little bit too easy. Karina with a lot of time to think about that catch before it arrived. The end of a fairly long run as well. Disc across the field is going to be into lots of space, but it's not going to make it to the connection, which was Barbara Paischer. And that's a turnover. Great Britain with the disc once again. Austrians really not managing to click. We've seen a couple of points where their offense has flowed, but it's been the exception rather than the rule. And Great Britain taking away options. Scarampy cutting underneath, cutting deep. Going to try and milk it into the end zone, not quite in. She jumped over the first line, but not the second line. Jo Robury darting around, trying to make herself available. She's going to have to come for a dump pass now. Floats it out to the 11 shirt of Lasma. Lasma throws a scuba into the mixer, and there's an Austrian hand that arrives there first. And Austria have dropped it again, giving the disc back, and a timeout's been called.
So yeah, something about the venue here. Last week was the Rugby Sevens, actually a big tournament here in Amsterdam, international rugby tournament. And that actually caused us to move things around a little bit. Usually the main square or the festival stuff, which you can see in the background behind these fields, usually that's in another location, but and I've been to Windmill many times. I was a little scared, if things moved around, it wouldn't quite be the same, but they seem to have managed to do that just quite amazingly. It's still a great vibe, great position, even with things moved around. They got lots of space here. So we have 20 ultimate fields with 80 different teams. So how it works is there's 40 mixed teams and then 24 open with 16 women's teams. So all the mixed teams play at once on the 20 different fields. Then all the open and women's teams play. So you always have one game on, one game off as the Swiss draw re-ranks itself throughout the tournament. And then you end up in the last round with these bracket plays, still one game on, one game off. So after this game, we'll have the mixed quarterfinals. Then there will be the women's and open semifinals. And then tomorrow, each team plays one game in the morning, and then everybody's done in time to watch the 3 finals of women's, mixed, and open. So it's always a great crowd here, always a great atmosphere for the finals. Usually some pretty amazing athletes. If you have to be pretty good to make it to the Windmill finals. So always a pretty good show here. So looks like the timeout is over, and we will see how GB manages to try and score this point to extend their lead to 11. Pretty long point here, 10-5. A little bit of a long discussion, but also a lot of turnovers back and forth. Probably some fatigue on the offense, but defense not giving up, driving and grinding and making sure that that they keep working and don't give either offense an easy point. So Austria about to tap it in for GB, coming out of a vertical stack, it looks like. Austria trying to play a couple different sides of it, try and put as much pressure as they can.
Cooper with the disc. Finds Brew. Brew looking for options upfield, finds Caroline Nichols. Outstretched hand grabs that, makes sure of it. Jo Robury trying to come through the stack, but she's stopped her cut now. Nice handler cut from Hannah Brew. Bit of frustration that that's been called back. It's been caught up. 52 shirt of Katharina Riga. Disc comes back in. Call retracted. Finds Lasma on the far side. Options are a little bit thin on the ground, and that disc wasn't great either. And there's a turnover to Austria. A few mistakes starting to creep into the Great Britain side. A little bit casual with their cuts. Not quite as aggressive as we've seen earlier on. Deep shot is gone, deep cut has gone, but is it going to be made? Second time round. Great footwork from Karina Cooper, making sure that that deep shot didn't go. It's a big threat there. That's a floaty one. That's going to be caught, though, nicely. Riga into the end zone. Pressure underneath this, but did she just jump out? No, she stayed in. Dragged her foot behind. And the Austrians managing to make the most of that turnover that they got from Great Britain. They're in this one. 4 points they trail behind Great Britain.
Yeah, so after a marathon point there, Austria managing to punch it in, making it 6-10, 4-point game. That is quite the lead to overcome. But GB getting a little sloppy there. I mean, on some of those offensive holds, what I did notice is that Scrumpy seems to just be unstoppable as a deep threat. The Austria don't really have an answer for her. But luckily for Austria, she made a few throwing errors, got stalled out once, threw it away once after she had all the open space deep. But they really have to put some more pressure on that because I think she's also usually a very good thrower. So giving her that deep shot so easily is not something the Austrians want to do. So we'll see here if GB can get themselves together. They got a whole fresh new line out. Going to try and create a nice, much cleaner offense than we saw from the previous GB line. While Austria, on the other hand, trying to capitalize on these GB mistakes that they're making, hoping they make a few more, and see if they can make the game a little tighter. So right now we are 10-6 in this quarterfinal round of Windmill 2016. 10-6 for GB.
Yeah, Francesca Scrampy's been a beast for a long time. And I'm sure she'll be a big part of the Great Britain setup at London in Worlds. We see the other line take to the field now. Jenna Thompson to Jen Hart. Jen Hart, no deep shot available for Jen. She was really ready to throw it, but Gainey was coming underneath. Romany Hannah was coming underneath, but this time Jen Hart's got a deep shot available. Not the takedown that was required, though. Rosalind Cameron not getting up enough to pick that one out of the air.
Yeah, the throw had a bit too much float on it, and I think Cameron was open, but as it floated, the Austrian defender was able to get there and basically take the position, forcing the GB receiver to go up too early.
Austria kicking off another offensive from the back of the end zone. There's a nice disc into space. Good lead. This is better from Austria. But the pressure from Great Britain on every cut is huge. They're really struggling to has to do a big throwaway to nothing. Jenna Thompson just sweeping that up. They managed to rescue a few yards, but Jen Hart is going to eat them back up with her own cut. Back to Jenna Thompson. This is the sort of thing that Great Britain want to see. Cheska Tyler, Rosalind Cameron. Gainey in the middle, takes it two-handed high to Thompson again. Tyler cutting. Rachel Kelly cutting. Nice cut from Kelly, makes a lot of space for herself. Catherine Gainey's going to dart around in there. The disc is right across the top. Romany Hannah running underneath it. Got fished in a little bit by the Austrian defender who ran towards the disc. Hannah had to keep up with her, and the disc caught the wind and floated over both of their heads.
Yeah, nice, good job for the Austrians. But what I'm noticing from the Austrians, why they're having trouble, a lot of their trouble on their offensive points, especially that last one. They got some good flow, but GB putting extreme amounts of pressure on their dumps. That's something that's not always as valued in lower level ultimate teams. They maybe play a little bit more off, sag off of the dumps, and then try and play harder defense on the cutters. But if you can shut down good dump resets, that makes it extremely hard for an offense to work. Most good offenses do rely on their resets, and here we see again GB with immense amounts of pressure, as it seems like they're going to punch it in on the line and score for GB, making it 11-6.
Yeah, Rachel Kelly and Catherine Gainey combining nicely there to punch it in. 11-6 is the score. The team in red dominating this game. A few more smiles than we saw when we were on the sideline watching them play against France. Wasn't a strong performance compared with some of the ones we've seen from Great Britain in the past. 5 Great Britain teams out here. I think 4 German teams out here. The only German team which isn't out here is the open side. The German Master's not here either. Okay. So there's 3 German teams, but I think the French have got a few teams out here as well.
Yeah, I think the French have mixed women's open. They might have women's masters, but I'm not quite sure. A lot of the Open Masters teams did apply this year, but for Windmill, we have spots for 80 teams, and we get usually around 160 applications. And Open, it used to be that there were 40 Open and 24 mixed, but we decided to swap that this year to make Open a bit more elite and have a bit more of those fun mixed party teams for the vibe. And that meant to get in as an Open Masters team was extremely difficult, as GB here managed to get a nice block, and it looks like a chance for an easy break for GB.
That was right in the face of Lauren Bryant, Austrian counterpart, number 52, which is Katharina Riga, apologizing for pinging that straight at Lauren's head. Jackie Varell's available. Oh, great work from Joe Robry, just picking it around. And Jackie manages to score that easy open side flick. And Great Britain connecting. Quick turn, quick score. 12-6. They've got this one in the bag by the looks of things. 3 points to go before the win, and their safe place into the semi-final.
Yeah, it's certainly never over till it's over, but by the way these two teams are playing, I don't quite see a way for Austria to be able to come back in this game. So yeah, talking about the teams here, selecting teams is extremely difficult when you get 160 teams applying for a tournament where you can only get 80 spots. And an interesting thing about our women's division, it seems like the women's division really brings the national teams. So this year we have quite a lot of national teams, but last year, what was a funny statistic is that we had 14 national teams in the women's division, while the European Championships previously in 2011 in Slovenia only had 12 women's national teams. So Windmill in 2015 had more national teams than the previous European Championships. That shows you the level that this tournament is and how many national teams really take this as a preparation for either the European or World Championships.
And we'll see the same happen in future years, I'm sure. The 9 shirt of Chukma seeing cuts, but Jen Hart flicking a hand out, getting a block on that. Might just see a quick replay if we can.
It looked to me like a clean hand block, but they're calling foul. It seems to be. And yeah, and we're back in.
Hard to tell in the heat of the moment. Disc over the top. Alice Beeching picking it up. Rachel Turton. Fiona Kwan. Becky Haig now. Looking to swing it to the centre of the pitch. There's space on the open side. Alice Beeching with the hands ahead of her, signalling her intention. So not managing to keeping that open side fairly clear of players at the moment. Great Britain, Jen Hart signalling her intention, takes a grab ahead of the Austrian teammate. Nice disc from Becky Haig, just flicks it into Jen Hart's path. Acceleration from the big number 19 player, and a rangy grab. Safe point. 6-13.
6-13, yeah, it doesn't, it's again extending their lead. Don't think Austria's going to come back from this one, so I'm guessing GB will be one of the semi-finalists here at Windmill 2016. One thing I've noticed about GB, they have a lot of players, and they really are playing their depth. I mean, maybe Scrampy and Hart are doing a bit more work than others, but I'm not seeing too many all-stars really taking the game over. It's just a real team effort from GB. Everyone seems to be contributing equally. I'm not seeing too many standouts, which is awesome. That must be a really good feeling, knowing you can rely on all those members of your team.
Yeah, they have a lot of strength. They have a lot of experience here. Jenna Thompson's been to World Games twice. But there's also players like Becky Haig, who's a World Games player. And then Ange Wilkinson, who's been captain for Iceni for a number of years, and a lot of Iceni players who are UK champions, European champions a number of times in a row. Austria with the disc, swinging it into the middle of the pitch. Very deep. And there are no cuts, and the cuts that are coming are well marked, but good disc to Spendia. And what she got in terms of options, not very many. Manages to get it back to Rapontig. Squeezes a disc forward a second time around for Doblinger, and a pick has been called. every cut that's coming out of the stack for Austria has been very well marked by Great Britain. That pressure is counting. And eventually it causes a mistake, not able to cling on to the top of that disc as it pops over her head. There's fast, aggressive passes between the handlers. You get them at short notice. They're often from low to high, and that one didn't connect. Hannah Brew with a rangy shot into the end zone. Ange Wilkinson safely brings that one down to take them within one of the game. 14-6. Great Britain with a fairly easy ride through this quarter-final against Austria. And the team in red re-establishing themselves as one of the stronger teams. I'm sure they'll be hoping to make it to the final on Sunday, which we'll be streaming here on Sky Magazine. Myself, Tom Stiles, and Ravi Vasudevan. Getting closer and closer, Ravi, and getting closer and closer.
He's getting good at the last name there. I believe there's a problem with League Vine. I'm not able to see the brackets right now, but I believe that the winner of this game, the winner of this game has to play Germany in the semifinal, who have been pretty much a class of their own in this tournament, having a huge point differential on every team they've been playing. So GB, maybe they do have that extra gear. That might be a really nice semifinal, but I would say if I was going to pick a team, I would say Germany's probably going to win that semifinal against GB. But of course, that's why bracket play is so exciting. You never know what's going to happen. So sure, it's going to be a lovely one to watch. Sadly, we'll be streaming an open semifinal during that matchup, so we're not going to be able to give you that one, but we will see. So here, GB trying to see if they can close this game out, giving Austria a chance on offense.
I guess that's the result of Great Britain's 5th place standing coming into this bracket play, is that they then end up with a very, very tricky semi. Romani Hannah looking to get the block, and she does, beautifully read ahead of the outstretched Birgit Ruthner, who was making a great cut of her own, but Romani had that in her sights the whole way through. Yes, having seen the German ladies play against France, which of course Great Britain lost to earlier on this pitch this morning, Germany won that game 15-5. A clinical demolition of an otherwise very strong French team. They have strength, they have depth, they have a lot of their under-23 players have come through into the main squad of speed. They have a lot of height on their team, and straight into the hands of the Austrians. The Great Britain team have given the disc up. Austria looking to put a couple of points on this scoreboard before this game is out. Keeping their heads up, their energy is still high. 32 shirt of Mastny. But again, the Great Britain defence pushing them backwards. Just enough pressure from Rachel Kelly to get that block ahead of Birgit Ruthner. Ruthner's been involved an awful lot from Austria, but doesn't seem to be able to get the connections that she needs.
Yeah, it's a bit tough. Why don't we do the play-by-play, and I'll talk a little bit when this point's over.
Jen Hart, mistakes from both teams now. Jen Hart throwing to an unavailable Romani Hannah. Just enough pressure from Romani Hannah, one of the fastest players for the Great Britain women. Dr. Romani. It's one of our medical professionals that plays at international level. And Rachel Kelly brings the disc. Both teams making uncharacteristic rushed errors. This disc to Catherine Gainey's paw as well. And once again, Austria have it. Both Great Britain just want to put this game to bed, but the Austrians haven't given up just yet. Caroline Lindner is picking up. Nice up the line cut. Can she pick it off? Good footwork, was it? The